One. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Edna J. White, and I'm so glad that you're here with us today. You are on Wounded to Wonderful Radio and keeping it real. Today's guest is I'm so excited because I got our name right. You know how I do that. I mess people's names up, audience, you know. But I mean well. I really do mean well. And you're at the right place because this is the destination to hear the real things from real people who just want to talk real and just want to share what they learned or know in their experience or their lives working. But today we're going to empower you. And our guest today is Dwhani Jain. Welcome, Dwhani. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much, Edna. Hello, everyone. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm happy you're here. It's 3 a.m. where she is, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm so happy she's here.
It's early morning here.
Yes.
So let me tell something about myself. I'm Dwhani Jain, and I'm an engineer by qualification, but I chose a completely different path, and I have become a social entrepreneur now. And I run my own non-profit organization called Karma Foundation. And I started it with a vision to contribute my bit to build an inclusive society.
Nice.
And my idea was to do it by empowering each and every person without any distinction on the basis of religion, caste, creed, or any other kind of discrimination, so that each one of us can live a life of dignity as an empowered entity. And therefore, with this vision and mission, I started Karma Foundation. And as the name also suggests, I strongly believe in the power of thoughts, words, and actions. And hence, it is called karma. So that is your concerted actions. And I believe that you can change anything through your own actions.
Oh.
So that is the
lady of my own heart. Lady of my own heart. Yes, that's great. Oh, you got me all excited now. I think we might have to have her back, which I'm going to have her back because I need to hear about her business a little bit more. And so the subject we're talking about today is really something you really probably can help us with. So it's the relationships, how we can overcome if we had a bad past or it's just something that traumatized us that we said as a little child we would never want again. I know for me, I've said that a couple of times. So let's talk about the relationship dynamic. And I know you can talk about that, Dwhani.
That is a really important thing because I feel the first few years of your life can actually impact your whole journey. And children have a very impressionable minds, you know. So whatever we see when we are young, we just take it with us as we grow. And that impacts our whole personality. So it sometimes becomes very difficult to overcome that. But definitely nothing is impossible in this world. I've seen people growing up, changing themselves, overcoming the negative impacts and so on.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was born in a very liberal family and my childhood has been a very happy-go-lucky type. In fact, I would say I faced the shock later in life when you face those kind of, when people kind of mistreat you in the outside world, your eyes open and you realize, oh, there are other kind of personalities as well.
Right.
So
absolutely. Yeah, I get it. You traumatize, you know, as a person, I don't think I know anyone that hasn't been traumatized, you know, whether young or old. I don't think I know anyone. I mean, you have to live in a bubble. And even if you live in a bubble, I mean, you have to come out of the bubble at one point. But I don't think I know anyone, you know, that has not been traumatized in some way. And I like that you said that, you know, the first few years are very important. That's great. That's great to know. The first few years, and it's you know, I know that the sphere of influence is your parents, you know, everyone that you grow up around in your close proximity. So they either pour into you or pull out of you. And that's very important, right? Right? It's very important.
Absolutely. I think your parents have the most important effect because they are our first kind of interactive people we talk with, and maybe they are the people we look for everything. They are our
Yeah.
role models. So, and if we have a very good relationship, a strong relationship with our parents, we start learning to trust the world. And if
Yes,
we have a disturbed relationship with our parents, we tend to think that the whole world is like that. So that
absolutely.
is our small world when we are growing, and we actually believe that to be true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And being a small child too, you have so much faith in yourself. See, that's really great to know. Is like you have, as a child, I remember myself doing things I was like, wow, if I was an adult, I would have never did that. But a child
Absolutely.
so much faith in themselves, it's tremendous. That's why I always say,
Yes.
go back to everything that you used to think about yourself as a child, and if you remember, even if you were damaged, like for myself, my trauma began at the age 5 or 6, but I
Oh my God.
remember the good times, like before then, I honestly can remember them. Like I honestly can like reach back and say, I wasn't afraid to get on a tree and pull it down and then catapult into the air, not thinking I was going to land on like, hard ground, break my head open. I
Yeah.
I was going to land in a great piece of ground. I really did. And never thought those things, never thought that anything would happen to me. Never thought if I walked out the door, a dog would bite me. Never thought,
Absolutely.
animals all the time, right? Never thinking, oh, that dog is going to bite me, So
I think, yeah.
we have so much faith in ourselves. What were we going to say?
Yeah, we have so much faith in ourselves, our capabilities, and we know that we have a
Mhm.
support system we can fall upon. But when
Yes,
that support system kind of gets disrupted, that is the time that we actually lose faith not only in the world but ourselves. And when we
exactly.
lose faith in ourselves, that is the point that we start going down.
Yeah,
We go on a downward journey. Yeah.
right. We spiral down, we become, our self-worth is challenged, our confidence is challenged, our ability to see people in good light, like you said,
Absolutely.
is totally challenged. Everyone has an ulterior motive, and you don't see the true, or you don't feel the trueness of that person. You just see everybody bad. And that's carried on in years as you're an adult too. I've heard adults say, "Oh, I don't trust anybody when I first meet them," and I'm like,
Right.
"How do you come in front of them? You have to trust coming in front of them. I don't trust anybody." And I was like, well, that's kind of like a misnomer. No, you have to, because if you're standing in front of somebody, you have some type of trust. And I think that comes from, like you said, when as a child, everyone around you kind of faltered on that trust issue. Now let's talk about how, okay, my trauma started when I was a small child. Um, and I know I started making agreements with myself. So we all have these agreements. We see something that we don't like, I will never do that. I will,
Right.
we start making these agreements, not knowing those agreements become like our commandments. Really, we walk around,
Absolutely.
it's on us. So let's talk about us making those agreements. We talked about our mistrust and how our faith in ourselves has gone. Let's talk about us making those commandments, as it were.
I think yes, commitments do play a very important role because
Mhm.
that is a kind of defense mechanism that we apply, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
maybe like if at all you have been sexually assaulted during your childhood, you would
Yeah.
stop having faith on any person of the opposite gender, and then you would
Absolutely.
shy away from interacting with them. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, fortunately I was raised in a very liberal and a very happy-go-lucky family where I could discuss almost anything and everything with my parents. So
Right.
even if somebody mistreated me at school, I would just straight away come and discuss with my mother or my father, or for that matter even my elder brother. So
Mm-hmm.
I would get the right direction in that way, and I would know, oh, this is right, oh, this is wrong. And before making a commitment to myself, I would know, oh, was it my fault? The
Right.
problem comes, those commitments can have a good and a bad effect on us.
Right.
If we have a support system, if we can interact with people, if we know the right and wrong, we will make a commitment that will be fulfilling for us.
Right.
So we will probably be more cautious when interacting with strangers. But if we do not get that kind of correct guidance, I think that is the time we might take wrong commitments. So
Okay.
maybe what we do is we ignore and we stop talking to strangers, but that is
Mm-hmm.
not the right way. We just have to be more cautious. We
Cautious.
have
Right.
to know that thin line.
Mm-hmm.
But altogether staying in your room, not interacting with people, that is not right, and that will have a negative impact on your whole
Right.
journey. So
Yes.
those commitments have to be made with a lot of guidance and support from your people, from your teachers, from
Right.
your family, and so
Yes.
on. So
Yes.
you can make the right commitments in life and
Sure.
stay safe.
Sure. And I'm sure that once you make like I review myself all the time. I'm a reviewer. I'm always thinking I don't check anybody else. I check myself. So I'm always
Yes.
myself checks and balances. And a lot of the agreements that I did agree to, because I remember, and maybe we all have said this as young women. Oh, when I get ready to get married, I'm gonna have a white picket fence, one dog, two kids, and this big brawly husband. Sort of like a doll effect, right? And so you agree to that. It's on your chest. It's on, you got it. Like I'm the bride to be. I'm ready. I'm ready. And then you really get married, you be like, oh, this is not the picket fence.
The world is different. Yeah.
And
That's
everything
true.
changes. It really changes. And so you have
And sometimes that breaks your heart as well.
it does. And I think that's the whole thing. The commandment that you have really is a command. Like you're commanding somebody else. It's like what are those lights in, like those bright lights that just say flicker all the time? That's what a commandment is. It flickers to other people. This is what I want. And you don't matter. This is what I'm getting. And it really is not the true way to live. So give me an example. Have you ever experienced someone I know you probably counsel a lot of people.
Yeah.
Give me an example of someone and share with the audience a pure example.
I think the kind of example you gave, almost every person in my country have dreamt of a fancy wedding, and okay, my life after wedding would be this. I would have a husband like this. My family would be like
Yes.
this. So almost, I think, from early childhood we start making those commitments and dreams, I would rather say. So, and some most of the times, unfortunately, those dreams do not come true, and
No.
people then, yeah. So, and it's not
So
only the early childhood, we keep making commitments all through our life, but then, as you said, we need to differentiate between what is real and what can be just too good to be true.
right.
So like you said, then we'll start thinking of that commitment all the time, and
Right.
that kind of disturbs us sometimes.
Right.
So
And then we
we
do
have to
think
be
about it.
very real while making, sorry.
We do think about that. Those commitments, we do think about them. It's not subconscious. It's really, we're thinking about them.
It does happen.
It's like we wake up like a prayer, like I'm getting married, picket fence, husband, two kids. We're saying it. We're really saying it.
Sometimes you have sleepless nights as well.
Yes.
The moment you try to sleep, you would only have thoughts about that. Maybe
Yes.
during the day you're busy in other activities, so you kind of forget. But the moment you lie down, those thoughts keep coming to your mind,
Exactly.
and that is so disturbing at times as well.
And we can't even get sleep, and I really do believe that, and this is a sidebar, everybody, that when we sleep, our souls have more room to create. And
Absolutely.
quantum leaping, I believe in all of that. I believe it has more room to create. So what we go to sleep with on our minds before we kind of release all of that, we dream about that and we take ourselves there. I really do believe that releasing some of those things, and we'll talk about that. Let's talk about releasing some of those things. How do we begin to release? How do we start to like make the corrections in our lives if we didn't have that, that great life,
Absolutely.
parents or with whoever raised us? If we had trauma, how do we start to correct that in our adult stage? And there's nothing wrong with any stage getting better. There's no age limit on getting better, becoming a better person.
Absolutely.
So how do we begin as human beings to start to do that?
Absolutely. I think there was no age bar on when you can start afresh.
Right.
And like I said in the beginning, I strongly believe in the power of thoughts, words, and actions.
That's
So the
right.
first thing that you need to do is change your thoughts, change your
Yeah.
thinking pattern. You need to interact with yourself first,
Mm-hmm.
engage in positive self talk, maybe. So
Right.
sometimes what happens is we start blaming ourselves for a bad relationship. So like you said, if you get into a bad marriage, you start
Yeah.
blaming yourself. So what you need to do is you need to actually rationalize the whole scenario. You need to
Yes.
talk to yourself. You need to find out, okay, you need to jot down the points, what is right, what is going wrong, and have a conversation with your own soul, with your own self.
Right.
And
Exactly.
once you start believing that, okay, this wasn't my fault, and
Right.
sometimes it is not the other person's fault as well, it is just
Right.
the situation.
Just
So
wasn't
when you
time.
start giving the right focus on the
Right.
right things, so it's not always people's fault. Most of the
Right.
times I think it would be a situation, and we unnecessarily put guilt on us, put so much pressure on us, that as if
Mhm.
we are doing everything. So we
Right.
need to rationalize that, we need to change our thinking patterns.
Right.
And I also believe that we need to build fresh relationships with
Right.
trust. We need to give a fair chance in every
Right.
relationship,
Right.
like with an open heart and mind, engage in an open conversation with
Right.
people. And sometimes we need to just let go things. We
Right.
need to share our
Release.
insecurities.
Yes.
And
That's a really good point.
like I say, sometimes we show that we are too strong,
Right.
but that becomes a negative at points,
Yes.
at times. Yes. So we must have a group of friends or some kind of relationship where we can be what we truly are. We do not
Mm.
have to wear a mask in every
Yeah,
relation.
it's a great thing.
So we need to remove that mask at times. It could be a friend, it could be even your children, it could be
Yeah.
your spouse, it could be anybody in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I'll tell you something very funny. I've observed people talking to strangers. So
Yeah.
because you're not judged there,
Yeah. That's true.
so
Like I
maybe you can just
something.
go
It's true.
out and travel and share your inner feelings with a stranger. They would definitely not judge you, and
Yeah,
it
it's
won't
true.
bother you as well.
It's true. I love to travel before this COVID thing, and relationships that I formed, in different countries, I still have. They're amazing. It's like, how could you answer me like that and be so open and loving and not, non judgmental.
Judgmental, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like an open-ended question, and it's just so empowering. Like, wow. And those relationships still have to this day.
Right.
I like your mantra: thoughts, words, actions. Love it, love it, love it, love it. I'm gonna tweet that. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Thoughts, words, actions. A lot of times we get to the point, and you've been saying it, when we start to work on ourselves, we work on the other person and tell them their faults, what they've done, how this is, how that is. That we do a lot of that stuff. We get all that, addressed, because that's what we're supposed to do, or we're told
Yeah.
we're supposed to get things straight. But really, it means you're supposed to get yourself straight. When I was divorced, I took my part. I was really in tune with myself, and I said I took my part, and I apologized for my part. I said, but it's over. It's just done. This is what I take my part. I don't blame anyone. And so when I was apologizing, um, and you have to be specific on apologies. That's another thing. We
Absolutely.
say, oh, I apologize for everything, for everything
Everything. You cannot be wrong at everything in the world. Yeah.
in the world. You can't just. So when I was apologizing, I made sure I was specific. That is very important that you apologize. You know what you've done. See, when you address yourself and you want to change things in yourself, you know exactly what you've done. You know
Exactly.
exactly what you've done to the minutest thing. You know exactly what you've done. Not to say it's wrong or right. It's maybe you look that's something you learned. Not to say it is just that you know what you've done to contribute to uncomfortableness. That's what uncomfortableness, and not being growing and maturing in our own selves. Second part of what I like about what you said is the action part. Okay, we find out something's wrong with us. We find out, no, not wrong with us, but we've done some things that were not quite right. But we don't put any action to make it right.
Absolutely.
And I like, that's why I like thoughts, words, action. I wrote it down because I'm gonna tweet that. Because actions are very important to change what you didn't like in life or what you want to correct that was you inherited. You want
Absolutely.
to actionably say to yourself, I can't do that because I realized it was wrong. I can't do that. I gotta be responsible for myself and my actions. And I remember I made a pact with myself before I even knew. A lot of time, a lot of times in life,
Yeah.
people, your family doesn't know anything else but to do what they've always done. And so when they hand it to you, you don't know what to do with it. So you're like, what do I do with this? So I always think about lies. I refuse to lie. It's the worst thing. It's deception. It's manipulation. It's all of that. So I had agreed with myself when I was like 18. I think I will do my best not to lie. That's my words. Those were my words. I will do my best not to lie. And I've always kept that. That's my thing. It's in the back of my head, and sometimes it kind of hurts me not to because, but then as a mature person that's learning to align themselves, you learn to say it in such a way that it's received. I've become such an effective communicator without working in my pain, without, how you're painful and you're thinking, oh, like you said, you talked about the baggage. You go to the next
Yeah.
guy or the next girl and you're like, you're bringing this baggage with you and you unpack it in front of them. I don't want this. I don't want that. Hold on. I don't want this. You got all this stuff coming out and you just met the person, so
Right.
the actions I think are important. They're very important. Work.
Absolutely. And you need to take ownership of your life. You can't
Yes.
just, when you do not take actions, you keep blaming others and you always point fault on others. So I don't think we are so powerful that we can change everything. We need to take ownership of our lives. And like you said, just give best, give your 100% to a situation. That is whatever best we can do. We should just do that
Right.
and leave the rest. Yeah.
And we know the best. See, the thing is we know what's the best. We do.
Absolutely.
I mean,
We do know what's good for us.
exactly. And we know
And nobody else
bad.
would know our situation.
Right.
We know our situation the best.
Right.
Our perspective on our things would be, the real truth. So
Exactly.
people can give us advice. You must take it. I always say I'll take advice from everybody, but I will decide on my own. So
God, that is a good one right there. I like it. I will take advice from everyone, but I will decide on my own.
yes, of course, it's my life. How can
I'm going to
anybody
write that
else
down because
decide?
I'm taking that. I'm going to take that. That's another one. Another tweet. I will take advice from everyone, but I will decide on my own. Perfect. I'm going to say you. That's great. That is so good. I'm writing it down. That's so good. Well, that was.
I have always followed it. Sometimes people do get upset with me. that I do not take their advice, but that's okay. That is their way of
Yeah.
looking at
Yeah.
things. This is my way of doing things.
Exactly. It's true. It's
And
your
talking to different people and taking their advice is definitely important, because we have a limited perspective. But
right.
when we talk to
Right.
multiple people, we
Hmm.
know the complete view. We know different
Right.
perspectives. We understand the same situation from different angles, and then we can actually take the right decision.
Uh-huh.
So,
And it's good that you will take, you know, being like what you said is like you hear people's advice. And
yes.
I was raised, I was, no, I started going to church a lot. You know, that was my
Right.
fail safe because I was a broken kid, you know, and
Mhm.
I thought that this place would kind of make me whole. But I began to allow people to speak things into my life that I couldn't see happening. Like it wasn't working. Every time I
Right.
tried to do it, it wasn't working. It was always very difficult.
Right.
You said something that was very important. You can be yourself without being having a mask on. And sometimes that advice or that whatever they're saying over to, oh, you're going to be a lawyer. You talk really smart. You're going to be a lawyer. Knowing good and well, you don't want to be a lawyer. You know, kids know.
Absolutely. Maybe we
You
have
know?
a different vision for ourselves. So,
Yeah, and we can make the decisions ourselves.
but definitely those words from other people have a positive influence as well, because
Right.
when somebody tells you, oh, you are a warrior, probably you would start thinking, oh yes, I'm good, I'm not that bad.
Yeah,
So
right.
they have that positive impact on you for sure, because when you're
Exactly.
down in life, you lose hope, then you need people to just pep you up.
Yeah.
So all those things are important,
You are
definitely.
important. You know,
Yes.
I used to lead the choir, and I also used to lead like a praise and worship service at church. And they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you sound really great." And I was like, "Yeah, thank you," but I never wanted to do a record. You know, it's like I'm not gonna make a singing career. You know, it's like
Yeah.
it's not me. It wasn't me. You can decide, and I did just what you said. I listened to your advice, but
Yeah.
I will make, I will make my own.
You made some changes according to your own
Yes.
wishes. So
So
yes,
much. It's so good. Yeah, that's a really good thing to know. And our audience should know that, you have to take that thoughts, the words, and the action.
and the action. Yeah.
And then you decide out of all of this that's happening now, you could have been dealt a bad deal when you're in family life or became traumatized, but then you have to make the thoughts, the words, and the actions better for yourself. You're the one that creates your life.
We are the most powerful person. We have the power in ourselves
Exactly.
to
We are
change
the
any
most
situation.
powerful.
Powerful person. Yeah.
We are.
Each one of us has that power. So
Exactly. And
each
you
one
know
of
what? I learned that so long ago that I had power, and I was like, because as someone who's broken, you always want to get advice from somebody else
us.
because
Yeah.
you don't trust yourself. And I always
Trusting it.
did that, and it was always, when am I going to ever have the answer? And one time I found myself without anyone to ask any advice that I knew. It's like, wow, I was in China for a year, and I was like, I got there, and I was like, wow, I'm by myself. I can't ask anybody for
Yes.
anything, so I have to figure it out. And doing that, I've learned that I had the power to do anything I wanted in doing.
Absolutely.
So that's, you can change with any relationship, audience. You can change anything. You can change how you are. You can change it. I know it's a bit more developed when you're talking about abusive relationships, but I'm talking about the power of you. I'm talking about. We're talking about that together. Is the power of you. What do you want to change that wasn't right in your life? Now you need to change it. How do you do that? And this was the thoughts, the words, and the actions sums it up. What do you think, Dwani?
Absolutely. I think the first agent of change is we ourselves. So before we try to change
Kind of
anyone
hard.
else, before we try to change anybody else or any situation, we need to work on ourselves and change
Yes.
ourselves. And once we do that, I think we can simultaneously work on the relationships and what went wrong, and make some positive change in everything. And one more important point, we have to be, during all, in every relationship, we have to be non-judgmental. So most of the times we make a mistake that we have some preconceived notions and biases, and that is how we start interacting.
Yes.
For any new relationship, we have to start it on a positive note, without any biases, without any prejudice, and start a conversation. Only then we would know each other, the real person that you are and the real
Right.
person that I am.
Right.
And then we would know how far we can go together.
Right. That's a great point, because most of the times when we're hurting and in pain, we take the person that upset us or hurt us, and they're on our back. So
yes, we carry that.
We carry it, and it's so
and that
difficult.
spoils the whole thing.
Whole
we can never,
thing.
Yes,
it does. So I like the point, number one, to change yourself, take control of yourself, and number two, no judgment.
no judgment.
No judgment.
Absolutely.
For yourself or anyone else. No judgment. See, when I stopped judging, I saw people who they were, and I was able to embrace their energy, the whole thing. It was just like, I saw somebody, I remember talking to this guy. I was at the library, and he was street homeless.
Yeah.
He had aluminum foil all over his body. So I was just looking at him, and I said, "Hello, how are you?" And I kept on doing what I was doing. He says, "You're talking to me." I said, "Yeah. I think you speak English, right?" And he started laughing. And so he was talking to me, and he's a very intelligent man. And he said to me, "You're going to be really blessed." He said to me. He said, I says, "What do you mean?" He says, "Because you stopped to say hello to me, and you didn't look down. You looked in my face, and he said, 'You're really going to be blessed.'" I say that is because to say this, that I was non-judgmental with him.
Absolutely.
And I didn't think, oh, he smells or anything. I didn't even think any of that. It was just like instant, like he was a person. He was standing next to me, and hello, how are you? And
a simple gesture, but it made a lot of difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. And being judgmental doesn't have no rose-colored glasses on. You see clearly. You even see past the person. That makes sense. You see past.
And you build more meaningful relations.
You do.
When you're not.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. And it's and you have no judgment. And the best thing, with no judgment, you have no judgment on yourself.
Yourself as well. You don't have so much stress on your brain all the time. You are freer to do more important and relevant tasks. So.
Yes. Someone told me today, he's like, they asked me how I feel. I said, I feel terrific. And they were like, wait, you got to feel bad some days. I said, I do. Yeah. In the face of it, I have to feel terrific. Because I say, if I don't feel good, at least I can feel, because there's some people that can't feel. And he's like, oh, I get it. And it's like, you have to look past all of that, enjoy that you can, so you always up, bringing spiraling things.
You're high on energy all the time.
Down. Yes. So it's really good. This has been a load of fun. I'm going to have you back. I'm going to give you a sleeping break for maybe a month, and then I'll call you back. So I'll give you.
Oh, sure. I love to be back with you. I really loved interacting with you.
Like amazing, and I'm ready to hear all about your nonprofit organization. I'm really excited for it. I'm glad that you're doing it, because so many people need to know about being themselves and growing and empowered, because there's so many that are not empowered. And during this COVID thing that's going on, people need to be empowered. So I know that, a sisterhood of mine on that side of town is doing her thing, and she is empowering people. Dwhani Jain, I can say truly, thank you for coming, and we will have you back. We're going to.
Thank you so much, Edna. I really enjoyed being in your
I
show.
did too.
And look forward to join you again sometime soon.
Yes, we got to do that. This is Edna White and Dwhani Jain saying bye-bye for now.